We're out here in the field today. We're fixing to rake some hay. Got another hay bed over here, helping my dad out on his tractor. We're gonna see what we can do. See you in a minute. Work that goes into feeding cattle, and just talking to my dad about that, about what all goes into the farm. And most people don't know what all goes into putting bread on the table and feeding cows and doing things like that. There's a lot just to get the hay to the cattle. They go out and they eat the hay and puts it back in the ground, and then we bale it again. You can see my dad's back there baling it up and following me up. You know, I don't get to help as much as I used to. As a kid, I grew up on a tractor, farming. We planted peanuts, hay, things of that nature. And I'm really glad to be able to get to do this, help out when I can. It kind of gets me back to my roots. My great-grandfather farmed this ground, my grandfather, and my dad. So it's really something special for me to be able to do this. Time, and we rake them into one. As you can see, we make windrows back there, and then he comes back behind that with his baler and he rolls them into round bales, which you can see right there. These mirrors make it handy so we can kind of see what we're doing. We're using our mirrors on these tractors. It's a lot like in your car or any truck. You know, you use it to kind of look behind you and scan what's going on, look at your equipment. In this case, we're seeing if those windrows aren't balling up the rake, so that we have to stop and unclog the rake. And we're doing pretty good right now. Putting a few bales on the ground, 1,500-pound round bales. I think he said he feeds about 130, 150 bales a year on a normal winter. Something about being connected back to the Lord and back to what He created. When you get to do this, you're actually taking something that He made grow, and you're able to turn it into something that you can take care of your cattle with, or sell, and someone else can take care of their cattle with. There's something very special and honoring about that. Johnson grass right here. You got to be careful with Johnson grass when you feed it to your cows. It's got to be just right. It can't be wet. And one thing my dad just showed me a while ago that his grandpa showed him, if you bend the Johnson grass when you pick it out of the windrow and it snaps and breaks, it's dry. You can bale it. If it just bends, it's got too much moisture in it. It needs to set another day. This all broke when we picked it up, so it was good to go. So 56 years old, you're never too old to learn something. Making pretty good hay. Several round bills out here. You figure each one of these weighs over 1,000 pounds, so you can kind of see already how many thousands of pounds. Oh, getting ready to let one out right here. Me and Dad have spent many years in the fields running tractors like these. There's so many times I have been following him in a tractor from about 12 years old. Now I'm 56, so a lot of memories, a lot of lessons learned from my dad. We learned them from his dad. We learned them from his dad. Just passed down through the generations. And although I may not be on the farm doing as much as I used to because life takes us in different directions, I still cherish these moments that I can come out here and hang out with my dad. My son's now 20. Since he was 16, he was generally doing this job raking because I couldn't get off work. And it's such a blessing to see my son come out fixing to dump another bale. See my son come out and enjoy doing this type of work. Oh, now we're racing. We're coming up to a tree. I'll show you what he told me to do on these trees to clean it up around the tree. As you can see, there's hay down there, so let's see if I can get this right. Around the tree, tie it back in together. You can see how we made a windrow around the tree. getting close to being done. Let's see what's going on over there. Something wrong with the baler. And that's the thing about the equipment. You know, you gotta work on it. Let's just go ahead and close this up right here. Something's not rolling right. So he ran out of twine, as you can see, so we had to put a new spool of twine. He was unsure if that bale had twine on it, but I can see on the top of it, it does have twine on top, so he's all good. So anyway, here we go. That's one thing about this old equipment. When you're out here, there's things like baling twine that you have to reload, and you got sensors on your baler that tells your tractor when the light comes on when you're getting low. And so that's what happened. It said he was out, and so we had another spare spool that does 250 bales. So you got to figure, if these are between 1,000 and 1,500 pound bales, and you can do 250 bales. You can do a lot of hay at 250 times 1,000. So that's 250,000 pounds of hay that one roll of twine will wrap up. So that's pretty good. So you can store one of those in the back for a spare, and then you just have to reload once you get, you're going to a field where you're going to wrap up. You're going to hit that 250 bale mark. So anyway, just part of it. We'll keep on going. There's some guides in there that keeps all those belts. That keeps that hay wrapped up and rolled up like it's supposed to. Those guides that broke, one of them has, and it's allowed them belts to shift over onto each other, and it was causing the bales to be not uniform and straight. So I think we got it, but we got some work to do on the baler when we get down out of this field. But hopefully it'll hold together. We don't have a whole lot. We're about to wrap it up here. About got it all done. Had to run the baler back because what we were fixing a while ago, we're going to have to go ahead and do some welding on it. And then he'll come back and finish up the hay. I got one little acre spot down here I need to finish. Hey, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I love getting back to my roots, baling hay, helping my dad out, getting back out here in the field with him. So I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, like our post, share it out if you can. This helps get us out in the algorithm and to be able to go out and do these things. Hey, and remember, love God and love your neighbor. Hey, I love you. We'll talk to you later.